It may have taken a bit longer than expected, but Chicago Bears fans, your quarterback has arrived. The generational prospect is always a difficult one to live up to, especially when your offensive line can't block a thing and your coaches get fired mid-season. But now, with Ben Johnson at the helm, things are starting to click. The wins are rolling in, Caleb is on track to break franchise records, and the vibes are pretty damn good. This is the version of Caleb Williams the NFL never wanted. Expectations couldn't have been higher for Caleb Williams when he entered the NFL. Not only was he labeled as a generational prospect who could dazzle with an arm like Mahomes, but he carried the hopes and dreams of a battered and bruised Chicago Bears fanbase on his shoulders. They had watched a long line of failed quarterbacks come and go, and the arrival of Williams as a generational prospect meant that surely a new positive era of Bears football was about to begin. The pressure was on for Caleb to deliver, especially as all the talk was of this being one of the best ever landing spots for a rookie quarterback. Normally, first overall picks have to make do with a lackluster array of offensive playmakers and have little hope. Just look at Cam Ward this year. Not Caleb though. He had DJ Moore coming off of a 1,300-yard season and new arrival Keenan Allen as one of the most reliable receivers in the entire NFL. Then, to add some more upside and playmaking potential on top of those two, the Bears secured Williams another weapon with the 9th overall pick in the same draft class in Odunze. Chicago finally had a quarterback who was showing traits of being a top 5 guy, and he had a long list of exciting weapons at his disposal. What could go wrong? Well, as it turns out, plenty. The offensive line failed miserably at protecting their young quarterback, giving up by far the most sacks in the NFL. Caleb was taken down 68 times in 2024, with the second most being CJ Stroud at 52. Yes, Caleb was also a part of the problem, holding onto the ball for too long. But the bottom line was that this offensive line was clearly one of the worst in the NFL. Still, 3,541 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions is not a bad effort, all things considered. This set new Bears franchise rookie records for completions, yards, and touchdown passes, and his streak of 354 passes without an incompletion is the longest by a rookie and the 4th longest for all passers. There was clearly something to work with, so long as the Bears could fix their offensive line and coaching problems. One way to do that is to go out and get the hottest name on the market, Ben Johnson. This guy was viewed as arguably the best offensive mastermind in all of football for a couple of seasons, thanks to his role in turning the Detroit Lions offense into a relentless, unstoppable point-scoring machine. Johnson could have chosen any job he wanted, but he chose Chicago. He chose Caleb, which says a lot considering the NFC North competition. To many, the Detroit Lions were the very best team in the entire NFC. Then you have a Minnesota Vikings team who came oh so close to pipping them to the 1 seed, and a Green Bay Packers team who also looked on the verge of being a Super Bowl contender. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bears had been the whipping boys of the division for years. Many quarterbacks and coaches had tried and failed to break the curse. So, all in all, the Bears' head coaching vacancy had plenty of red flags to be wary of. But that didn't bother Ben Johnson. He wasn't worried about the tough competition in the division, nor the checkered history that comes with this franchise. He saw a quarterback who could be special, and he didn't think twice about it. With the coaching problem solved, attention turned towards the offensive line. Drew Dahlman came in as the top free agent center available, before general manager Ryan Poles bolstered his 2 guard positions via trade. Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney both bring plenty of experience and quality, particularly in the case of Thuney, who is a 4-time Super Bowl champion. Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright then carried over at the 2 tackle positions, rounding out a significantly upgraded Bears offensive line that was ranked as the 4th best by PFF heading into the season. Jones has since been replaced by Theo Benedette, who has impressed as an undrafted sophomore. Of course, on top of all of this, Williams still had an exciting array of pass catchers at his disposal in the form of DJ Moore, Odunze, and running back DeAndre Swift. Then, in the draft, that collection of weapons got even better through the arrival of tight end Colston Loveland with the 10th overall pick, wide receiver Luther Burden in round 2, and running back Kyle Monangai in round 7. For all the false talk of Caleb entering the perfect system as a rookie in 2024, this 2025 setup really was ideal. Now it was over to the sophomore to prove that he was a worthy choice as the first overall pick. Things couldn't have started much better. On Monday Night Football in Week 1 of the 2025 season, Caleb looked cool, calm, and composed on the opening drive. He was patient in the pocket, taking the easy options to keep the chains moving, and showing off his freakish playmaking ability with a sideline laser to fellow sophomore Odunze. He capped off the drive with a scramble on 3rd and 6, which he took all the way into the end zone. This was our first proper look at the Ben Johnson offense in Chicago, and it couldn't have looked much better. Williams then stayed slick throughout the whole first half, completing 13 of his 16 pass attempts for 112 yards and that rushing touchdown. The problem was, things fell apart a bit in the second half, with his completion percentage falling from 81.3% to just 42%. This allowed the Minnesota Vikings to produce an unlikely comeback and ruin Ben Johnson's first regular season opener as a Bear. Then, in Week 2, it was more of the same. Johnson and Williams started hot, with the quarterback completing 73.7% of his passes for 136 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception against the division rival Detroit Lions. In the second half, however, that completion rate once again dipped to 45% for just 71 yards. And with that, Chicago suffered losses in each of their first 2 games of the season. Was this just the same old Bears? This is where context is important. Just because everything else has got better around Caleb doesn't mean that it was always going to be a smooth ride. Ben Johnson is indeed an offensive genius, but he gets his results through complex and versatile offensive game plans. This meant that there was always going to be a period of adjustment for Caleb. There were new things he was going to have to learn and get used to. Johnson has always emphasized the importance of perfecting the finer details, with his offense utilizing a ton of play action, shifts, and pre-snap motion. The bottom line is, there are a lot of moving parts, and everybody needs to be on point all the time to make it work. Veteran quarterback Case Keenum, who has seen all sorts of offensive systems over his 12 seasons in the NFL, summarized the Johnson scheme as a greatest hits of every kind of offense he has come across. He told ESPN, "Ben has put a lot of pressure on us as quarterbacks to handle play calls without wristbands out there. New play calls every day. Long ones with double kills and possible alerts. Getting a full understanding of this offense was always going to take time, and due to its complex nature, there's a high chance that we don't see it at its full potential until year 2 of the Johnson era. That said, we have certainly had a few glimpses of how high the ceiling is, with Caleb dishing out 298 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 3. This kickstarted a run of 4 straight wins to give the Bears a 4-2 record after Week 7. A loss to Baltimore in Week 8 threatened to slow down the momentum, but Caleb and his offense bounced back with a bang against the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 9. This was a signature win for so many different reasons. First of all, the significance of retaining a winning record and moving to 5-3 instead of 4-4 cannot be underestimated. Secondly, we got a good look at a fully unleashed Caleb Williams and some of the creativity that we have come to know and love from Ben Johnson. After marching his boys downfield on the opening drive, it was Caleb Williams who was on the receiving end of a 2-yard touchdown pass from DJ Moore. This set the tone for a truly chaotic game in which the Bears and Bengals went back and forth. Caleb was making big plays with his arm and as a runner as well, in a game where Chicago's rookies shone. 7th rounder Kyle Monangai was seemingly unstoppable, and 1st rounder Colston Loveland got on the score sheet with his first career touchdown to take the lead halfway through the 3rd quarter. Going up against this dismal Bengals defense, Chicago was seemingly in control of the game, with Caleb leading his boys on 4 scoring drives to open the second half, including 3 touchdowns. With the score sitting at 41-27 in Chicago's favor, it looked like the game was wrapped up. But then, it was the Bears' defense's turn to fall apart, conceding 2 touchdowns in just over a minute to give Cincinnati a 42-41 lead with just 54 seconds left on the clock. Chicago were now facing down the barrel of a season-altering loss, the kind of loss that comes from nowhere and devastates a locker room. Caleb Williams had played well all game, but now he was facing a whole new kind of pressure that was totally unexpected. His team needed a drive, and this was his moment to step up. Life wasn't made easy for him by his offensive line, with Caleb seemingly having to run for his life on each of the first 3 plays of the drive. But on 3rd and 10, when it looked like the game might be dead, Caleb bought time and found enough space to run upfield for a clutch 14-yard scramble. Then, on the very next play, his offensive line bought him enough time to stand tall in the pocket and fire a dart up the seam to his tight end Colston Loveland. With the game on the line, Caleb layered the pass perfectly, getting it over the linebacker and down in time to allow for Loveland to turn towards the ball and protect himself. From there, the rookie did the rest, somehow breaking free from the clutches of 2 defenders and rumbling 58 yards upfield for the game-winning touchdown. On the day, Caleb Williams really was at his brilliant dual-threat best, collecting 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions through the air, while adding another 53 yards on the ground. Of course, he also found himself on the receiving end of 2 receptions for 22 yards and a touchdown. That is the epitome of doing it all. And on top of that, he came up clutch for his team when they needed him in the dying moments, leading them on his 3rd game-winning drive of the season already. When you factor in Colston Loveland's breakout game with 118 yards and 2 touchdowns on 6 receptions, and Kyle Monangai's breakout game with 198 total yards from scrimmage, you get an incredibly promising outing from the Chicago Bears. On top of all of that, you have to remember that we are only 8 games into the Ben Johnson era. This unit is only going to get better and better as players become more familiar with the system. We are already seeing signs of improvement as the season goes on, and moments like these give Bears fans an exciting look at the upside of what is possible with Ben Johnson on the sidelines and Caleb Williams under center. There's not a pass he can't make, and he's proving himself as a dangerous runner as well. Add in these rookie breakouts and Ben Johnson's play calling, and I think it's fair to say that we are getting the version of Caleb Williams the rest of the NFL never wanted to see. But how far do you think he can take them? Let us know in the comments.